very brief introduction. My name is Fan. I'm the chair of the Bedford branch BCS, which I'll explain in a little bit. This is actually a volunteer activity, so I have a different day job in Cranfield University, but it's been lovely to be able to do this. So what we want to do is to introduce a little bit about the background of the competition, what we have done, how we plan things out this year, and then we'll have ample time for question and answer. So let me make a start. The origin of the competition very much started that in around 2014, there's a new national curriculum, and BCS, as the British Computer Society, had a team that have a hand in the design of it. Of course, it then come into supplement and replace the old ICT curriculum, which in our mind is very much more in using Microsoft Office than being able to do computing. So that curriculum cuts in, and we begin to have different conversation around how easy it is for school to pick it up, how well it can progress the profession. And we think it is very important because what we see IT is that it expresses a way around structured problem solving. So it's good not just for IT, but as a subject, it connects to maths, to science, to technology, and even a lot of the humanities that we want students to be able to explain why they do the answer. That's good kind of thinking practice. So we think it is important. But around that time, when I engage with the local school community, one of the realization is that Bedford in the surrounding area is not necessarily doing very well in the computing education. Part of that has to do with maybe even the ICT teachers themselves may not necessarily be totally confident around new curriculum and some of the topic. So from 2013, we started to work with, at that time, Bedford Borough Councils to have the education departments, to have school advisor, which they don't have now, but we kicked off the competition in collaboration with the education department then, and also with CARS Bedford. CARS is Computer at School initiative that Jackie is going to explain a little bit more. And so this series of competition have a reasonably long history. But in a way that we structure it, it's not just for the students to have something to do, but we also want to raise their attention so that it may help students to make choices for their GCSE and A levels, but also when teachers need to perhaps have a little bit more help or structured work, we're here to also provide that interaction with the teachers. And competition tend to motivate the parents a bit more, and hopefully it also motivates the school leadership, especially while computing. It's not maths, it's not English, it's not science. So sometimes when subjects compete for resources, it may or may not be in as good a position we like to. So we kicked off the initiative and we have ongoing partnership with CARS, and really pleased that Andy is here. He's part of the police colleagues who we have been working with over time, that we try to do this as a way to encourage in the school young children age community that there's the focus and attention in this IT career. There are a lot of good things about IT that other people is going to cover later in the meeting, so I won't repeat that. A little bit of the background. So BCS, full name historically is British Computer Society. That's the professional body for IT. And if people want to gain a chartered status for IT, we are the people who run that. And we have over 50,000 members in different parts of the world. And that's what we want to promote and develop as a profession. We're a charity with a royal charter, and while the majority of the work of BCS is the professional adult age groups of people, but we also want to be able to contribute to make IT good for society. So this competition is one of the charitable activities that we do. In the way that BCS work, we break down into geographic branch. the local branch is Bedford branch, but it doesn't mean it is only Bedford, because we measure by where do we have the next branch. So effectively, we go all the way into Cambridge and then halfway into Oxford. So we cover the Buckinghamshire, and then to the south, we're kind of Hertfordshire, North London is our boundary, and to the north, we have Northamptonshire. But this is rough boundary. People tend to kind of move about, work in a place, live in a different place. So these are kind of roughly the loose connection. And every month we have a regular meeting. When we were face to face, we used to be in the Bedford Hotel by the river in Bedford, but now we've gone online. So everybody is welcome to our activities. You can find out more about our agenda and event on our webpage, or sign up to the BCS mail list. But we are not talking about that bit so much for today. We're more talking about the competition. So we've been running for a while. I just pulled together some pictures of the things that had happened before. So these are the prize presentation day. Because I work in Cranfield University, we tend to do it in Cranfield. And I can then try to open up some of the labs where the students and the adults who come with them have a chance to see some of the things that is here, and that can give them ideas around what perhaps their future career and interest can be. So 27, I get them into our UAV lab, and one of my colleagues was explaining about some of the things. And I believe there's a gentleman, kind of looking at the photo on the top left, the gentleman on the right-hand side is on the call with us. So Ifam, can you share a little bit about your experience then and the journey?
Hi, so yeah, I've just been introduced. I'm Ethan. You can see a picture of me there. I was in year 8 at that point. The competition I took part in year 7, and I was lucky enough to win that competition through. It was very close, but I won it with a competition based around being aware of like phishing emails. I used Kodu, and at the time, it was just sprites with some very simple block coding, some text boxes, making some decisions, which won us the competition. And winning that competition has really driven me forwards. I've always been involved. Miss Samosa can verify, or Jackie Samosa, as I should probably call her in this, can verify that I've always been involved very heavily with IT. You can see me there. We received a robotic arm as a prize for winning that competition. I have gone on and am currently in year 12 in 6th form, studying for a cyber EPQ with City and Guilds, doing a project on quantum computing. I want to go on to study at a Russell Group University software engineering, and I think going back, tracing through my history, winning this competition and just taking part in this competition is really what drove me on and showed me that I could. If I just put myself into it, it showed me that I could do these really, really brilliant things. It gave me so much confidence to continue, and that's the advice that I would give to everyone here, that if you do this, if you throw yourself into it, you've done probably the hardest thing, and that's putting your name down on a piece of paper. I would say that if you do this, it will spur you on to do much greater things in the future. And that's my experience with the BCS.
Oh, thank you very much. That's probably, I have to declare that I haven't scripted for him, but that's the whole purpose for us to do this competition, that when we can encourage young people to get into having the interest, then in time they will expand the profession. So in future, we'll have continuing membership in the professional body, but also somebody who earn money to pay my pension as well. So that's really important that we start them young. So 2017, 2018, again, we have a big crowd of people. This time I get them to fly the flight simulator in our lab, and it was good fun. And then 19, we have another group of people. This year, I think we choose the presentation date too close to the end of the school year. So some of the winning schools, they can't get their minibus to come to collect the prizes, which is a bit painful because then I have to run around all the schools to deliver those prizes to them. But at that point, we have Andy, who you can see here. He and the police colleague come to organize a quiz for us, as well as the visits we can do. And then, of course, we have last year. We were close to not being able to continue it, but after a lot of thought and encouragement from some of the teachers who have made the start, we decided to still keep the competition going on online. And these are some of those good work that have been done. We were able to deliver the prizes, but we weren't able to host a face-to-face prize presentation, which we hope we'll be able to do this year, according to Boris's timetable. So that is what we say, but apart from Ethan, there are some more recent competitors who...
So we started the BCS coding competition in year...
Sorry, do something here.
7, so I joined a coding club. I came every week, and I was working on my Scratch game for fake news, which was the year 7 topic. It was going really well, but and then the lockdown started, so I thought I wouldn't get the chance to continue my game, but then I got it. One of the teachers sent it back to me at home, and I got to continue it using the Scratch online. So once I'd done, I submitted it online to the judges, and I managed to get first place.
And we were highly commended. I came third place in the coding competition, and I really enjoyed it. I created a little lesson about fake news, and then it came on to a quiz and a test, which that's complete. It was a really fun experience.
So my game was about fake news, like I said. So you had to move your character around, and then you'd enter different buildings and talk to people, and you'd have to guess whether the news story was real or fake. It took a while, but it was definitely worth it, and I enjoyed it a lot.
My game was a quiz about fake news, which you had right and wrong answers, and you had to say true or false. And it took a lot of tries, but it got there in the end, and I think it was worth it.
My game was, you were a character that was helping his friends out with fake news, but to get to your friends you had to complete a level of a game, and then you had to guess whether the news story was fake or real.
My game was about somebody was teaching you a lesson on which one was fake news and which one was real news, and then it put you on a test and a quiz at the end.
Well, that was lovely. And then we have Olivia as well.
When I was in year 7, I entered the competition, and for year 7 you do fake news. I wasn't sure if I was going to win, but then I won.
Well, I have to say it is a lot of effort to twist teachers to record those things for me, and I'm really grateful for Mark Rutherford, who is probably the school that was able to kind of do this with the lockdown on and off. I know it's been really hard for us to collect this information, but we are very pleased that we can hear from some of the students. Next person to speak is some of you who may know him very well if your school is in Bedford and Bedfordshire area. So he is the gentleman who come to do your cyber talk.
Good morning, my name is Michael Williams. I work for the Cyber and Fraud team here at Bedfordshire Police, and as part of our role, we aim to protect those that are vulnerable in our community from being victims of fraud and cybercrime, as well as supporting victims, providing the right advice, guidance, or investigation where required. We also work with students who have an interest in computing, and we look to push their development and provide them with the appropriate resources where necessary. As part of our role, we provide a referral route to identify people in the region who are on the cusp of committing cybercrime offences, so they can use their skills in the best way, avoiding any Computer Misuse Act offences. In terms of being online, children online are at risk from unsuitable content, whether that's accidentally disclosing their personal data, illegal downloads, file sharing, viruses, inappropriate advances, perhaps, just to name a few. Children are learning to navigate the online world. They are enthusiastic and trusting, so it's vital that the right support and guidance is provided to them, and that all forms part of our role. Last year's BCS competition was great to be involved in. We saw some great pieces of work and showcased the talent that young people in Bedfordshire have. I will be on the judging panel again this year, so if you're thinking about getting involved, then go ahead. It's a great initiative to be part of. It will separate you from the rest, having received recognition from your efforts. So it's really something that I would promote. From us, we'll be running the Matrix Challenge 2021 this year, bigger and better than last year, hopefully, and you'll be provided with all the details when that time comes around. Thank you.
Yeah, so police actually work at multiple levels. So Steph, who is from the Eastern Region unit, also
Hi everyone,
want to share.
I'm Steph Frankish from the Eastern Region Cyber Choices team. The Cyber Choices programme is run nationally by the National Cybercrime Unit and the National Crime Agency, and then at each region we coordinate the programme with our local cyber protect and prevent officers. Michael Williams being the Bedfordshire one, who I believe you're going to hear from as well. The Cyber Choices programme aims to work with young people who are thought to be at risk of committing cybercrime to make sure they know what the law is around computers and cyber, and to inspire them to use their skills in a more positive and ethical way. The ideal outcome being further education, leading them into a career within cybersecurity or related fields. The reason we promote this career pathway is because there is a huge skills gap. At the moment, it's estimated to be around 1.8 million by 2022. Because of this, the type of skills you'll be using in this competition are hugely in demand, and you can expect high salaries as you move your way into the industry. The top 3 skills we hear about from our academia and industry partners are an understanding of Linux and other operating systems, an understanding of networking and TCP/IP, or how computers speak to each other, and an understanding of Python coding, which is a really good basis to move on to other coding languages like C++, Java, PHP, and others. This competition will give you a really good opportunity to practice your coding skills in a really fun, dynamic way, and enable you to show off your skills in competition with other teams from different schools from around Bedfordshire. The best advice I give the young people I speak to all the time is the importance of getting known. To stand out from the crowd, and taking part in this kind of competition is a great way of doing that. We're involved with a number of other initiatives that will give you the chance to learn more skills, network with other people with similar skills and interests, and show off how good you are. These include our Matrix Challenge, which will be back again in 2021. This is an individual competition for 11 to 17-year-olds, and you may have actually taken part earlier last year. Then there is Cyberland, which is an online competition run by Cybersecurity Challenge in partnership with the National Crime Agency. There's Cyber First, which is a training programme that offers 5-day free, normally residential, but at the moment it's online, cybersecurity training, both theory and practical, for 14 to 17-year-olds. There is also the Cyber Discovery Competition, which is a school competition where teams from different schools compete against each other to ultimately be the best team and win the grand prize, similar to this competition. So I wish you all the best of luck in this Bedfordshire British Computer Society competition, and just remember to have fun and to try your best. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steph. So from the contribution from the colleagues, you may understand why in our competition topics, it have a very central cyber theme in the different year group. That is something that we totally agree with as big career opportunities. But I also want to invite Andy to share with us. He is actually live online, so in perhaps sharing about your experience in kind of working with us in the last few years, and in the 2019 competition, you will also giving out prizes for us as well. So I'll stop sharing the PowerPoint and let us focus on you.
Thank you, Fan. Yeah, so I'm Andy. I work alongside Steph actually at the regional cybercrime unit. Involved in the same program. It's about intervening with youngsters that are getting things wrong and putting them in a positive direction. one of the things we do is encourage skills like this. As a generational thing, I left school in 1981 from Stanborough School in Welwyn Garden City, and the summer after I left, they installed their first 5 BBC microcomputers. So there were no computers when I was at school. Roll forward this 40 years, and we're immersed in computers and communications technology. Everything we do relies on a computer. Our lives are run on it. And so the need for coding skills, for apps, for phones, for computer programs, for operating systems across the network, and in cybersecurity, which is a field that, as my colleagues have said, we encourage people into, because the more defenders we have, the better. In taking part in this competition, not only do youngsters get inspired to create something in a time-limited fashion, but there's also each year, each group taking part, there's themes to the competition. So there's some positive digital online safety and digital issue messages going along with what they're learning to code as well. So I've been privileged, as Fan said, to be involved in the competition for the last couple of years. First of all, providing some activities during the ceremony, and second year doing the same, but also presenting the prizes. And I actually find it quite inspiring myself to see the amount of effort that the young people have put into their finished products. Some have used Scratch, some have used Kodoo, some other things, but they've all put a great deal of effort in, and the variety of end products that we actually get to see on the final is quite impressive. So bearing in mind positive use of computer skills, inspiring youngsters to go further, like Ethan now taking part in the competition at an early age, and now going on to probably further higher education and into a fantastic career, doing something he's passionate about. And that's what we need to do, is really get more and more young people interested, inspired, passionate about coding, something that's a building block of all our lives these days. So please do encourage your students, spread the news about this competition, and let's try and get a big turnout for this year. And I look forward to taking part in the final again, Fan. Thank you very much.
Well, welcome, Andy. So what I want to do now is to invite Jackie, who have been my working partner for all these for so many years. She is the leading person on the Bedford Computer at School Club. So maybe you can explain a bit about CAS and the support teachers can have, and then how we are going to run this year.
Thanks, Fan. So I'm Jackie, and I've been helping with organising the CAS, the coding competition, for quite a significant number of years, as Fan said. But I'm here as well in my role as CAS community leader for Bedford. So as CAS community leader, what I do is I organise events, mainly termly, which are topical events that are really of interest to computer science teachers, both in the primary and secondary sector. Our most recent one was actually last Wednesday, where we had representatives from Pearson and AQA discussing the changes to the exams for this year. But we do really try to cover lots of different topics and provide CPD for teachers of varying different skills. So we try and look at primary right up to secondary. And it is a really supportive community. And if nothing else, people get a sense of we're all in this together and we're all here to support each other. And if you've got a question, quite often there's somebody in the community that can help and support. I mean, I know there are a lot of forums out there, and the most recent community meetings have had to be online, but up until then, we've always been able to meet together and share our experiences of trying to bring computer science into the curriculum and keep it up to date. The competition for me, it was something that I really wanted to get involved with, because I could see how much of a need there was for students to try and start building their skills from a very young age. And by doing that, that keeps them interested right up until A level and then post A level. And it has been such a pleasure to be part of this competition and to help organise it. And it has grown. It started off small, it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger all the time. And I know that it probably looks odd that students from my school have been presenting today, but that was exactly what Fan said. It's been quite difficult to get videos from other schools just because of the lockdown. But if you go onto the BCS website, you can see testimonies from many of the winners from 2020, and it is so inspiring, some of the stuff that these young people have been doing. But it's just like everybody has said, the message is, you know, let's get these young people interested in this competition from a young age, and it will encourage them to go on and do really great things in the future. Our experience is that the young ones, when they get excited about it from year 7, they tend to follow that through Key Stage 3, Key Stage 4, Key Stage 5, and so many of them have gone off to university. And one of my students actually qualified for the SANS training course in London when they could go face to face, because he did cyber discovery, as Steph mentioned, and he also did the cyber EPQ. He also entered the competitions, and now he's at university and he's doing ever so well. So it does work. I would like to introduce you to a teacher who has delivered this competition within the school for a significant number of years. In fact, she is the main coding club teacher, and she gives lots of her time up to support our year 7s, and also she does a mixed coding club. Well, she did do a mixed coding club, and up until the point where we could no longer mix students together. So this is Vern. So Vern, would you like to say a few words? I think, do you have mute on, Vern?
Yeah,
that's because I'm trying to watch. I'm trying to make sure a certain person doesn't zoom bomb my moment. Yes, I'm Vern Mussington, and I have been teaching computing for several years now, and I have a real passion for computers, and have done for a very long time. And I really always try to emulate that passion on all of the young people that are doing computing in my class, even the ones who say they hate it. I say by the end of this, you're going to love it, to be quite honest with you. I think it's really important, and the competition really kind of emphasizes on that, because they're not just learning the skills of developing programming, which is one element of it, but it's also about the topics that they're having to cover. And I think during the last year or so that we've been in lockdown, out of lockdown, in lockdown, out of lockdown, what you found is young people have been using technology a lot more than they normally would. And it really is important they know how to use it safely. So part of the competition allows them to research topics, for example, like the fake news for the younger years, find out about it, get an understanding of what those things and what the implications of those things are, and then incorporate that in a game. We always have an enthusiastic bunch of students, always. This is like the highlight of our year, the BCS competition, because we whip them up into a frenzy, to be quite honest with you. It's a lovely collaborative spirit as well, because sometimes we get them working together in groups. Some of them want to work independently. The young people have got such a great grasp of computing and the programming side of it. The younger ones tend to grasp very, very quickly as well. And as Ethan was saying about how he started in year 7 and then moved on, I find that very much so. The young people, once they have grasped it and they have developed those skills and they've had an opportunity to showcase those skills through the BCS competition, they do get that motivation to move on to the next year. And it's lovely that BCS delivers it from year 7, year 8, year 9. So they're not just doing it for 1 year and then it's over. They have an opportunity to show how they've developed over the years with their computing skills. I think it's a very good thing for schools to be a part of. It'll be lovely if we can meet again, Fan, as you know, when we do the presentation, because that again was another skill that they had to learn, how to stand up and present. And we used to have long conversations in the minibus on the way down. What shall I say? What shall I do? And those things are skills that are life skills for the young people. So they gain so much from the BCS competition. And I would encourage any school to be involved with it, because it really is an asset to the students, to their parents who like to get involved with it as well, and also to the school itself, and definitely for the young people, and for looking forward to their future careers in technology, because we have found, and we should have discovered since all of this pandemic, that one of the things we've all had to rely on has been technology without a fail. Nothing could have run without technology. Students would not have been learning if there was no technology. And so they've now appreciate more how computing, programming, and all of the different facets that they can move into is really important. And this pandemic has actually opened our eyes even more to the importance of making sure young people have excellent computer skills, not just for now, but for the future, and that they are moving into possibly employment that will continue to develop those skills as well. So I'd like to encourage everybody and anybody to certainly take part in the competition, because it's a lovely stepping stone to their development.
Thank you so much, Vern. And I think Vern puts it so lovely, and you can also see how much Vern gets from it. And even though Vern's given up so much of her time, and she always does, she just commits so much time to supporting the students. She really also enjoys it. And it is a real community feel in school as well, because we, at the very end, once we've done the competition, we all get together and we all have a big pizza evening to celebrate or commiserate, but at least celebrate all our successes. And the fact that people have managed to put all these things together. So Fan, can I go back to you?
I think you might be on mute.
Thank you. That is something that I always kind of get myself into. Thank you. So, and thank you for the sharing. I think very much share from the secondary school perspective, but actually the competition is open to year 5. And I think some of our regular from the primary school sector is not with us. We have schools that actually have their kids in from year 5, and then when they finish the primary, go on to a secondary and continue in their competition participation, which was lovely to see.
Fan, can I just say, one of the boys in that video tonight, he started in year 5 in his primary school, and he went on to year 6. I think he won in year 5, year 6. Then he went into our school in year 7 and carried on.
Yeah, so that's lovely. So what I'd like to do is to kind of explain some of our planning in terms of the rules and entry for this coming year, and then we have time to open up for the question and answer. So in general, the terms is we've got the BCS website and the PDF. I extract some of the key topic. So students from year 5 to year 10 in our PDF and the website, we've listed out each of the year group have a different topic focus. So even students have done year 5, when they're entering at year 6, they will be working on something else. So it gives us the age range. We're happy for students to work individually, in pairs, and if in teams, that would be lovely as well. But no more than 4. So actually, we don't have any people who are kind of leaning on the others. We do want the students to submit their competition through the teachers, like yourself who are on the call, rather than the students submit themselves or with their parents. So we do want to have that school connection as part of the entry. Work need to be original, minimal help for from teachers and parents, and if it is kind of given, not that you don't give guidance, but not really code for them, it should be their entry and their effort. And also in the doing is the year where the copyright, those are important things to be mindful of. And also the personal details side of the safety need to be important. And sometimes a lot of our entries around games and competition and dialogue. So the politeness, those respectful is things that we expect as part of the standard. When the submission come, effectively, the judging panel is made up from a colleague from the police force. So last year is Michael. We expect Michael to be on the team. It'll be a representative from the BCS Bedford branch committee. So Bob Bethel have been working with us in the last few years, and he's also a school governor as well. So he understands the school context. And then we have representative from the CAS, the teaching community. So we haven't named all the individual judges as well. So one of the message we want to use today to say is that if you're willing to give time to help in the judging, that would be lovely, because when we have the entries, that's one of the major time-consuming, effort-heavy thing that we need to cover. But the criteria we use is creativity. So we hope it is something that is new, is exciting. We also want to understand the use of the image and text to make it appealing, the human-computer interface area. As it is a coding competition, it should be pretty, as well as we want to understand that the right level of complexity in the use of the programming construct is also incorporated as there. And the final presentation is also being able to kind of explain. People don't need to be a genius to understand what they do. We'll be able to follow that through. So those are the 4 criteria we want to use as the judgment. And as in all competition, the judging panel's decision would have to be final. The key days for us this year, we were trying to work out the timing again, that we're aiming for it to be the 16th of June in terms of submission. So that's probably enough time to build up the work. And then after the last midterm, enough time to finish off the work and get ready for the submission. It will take us time to organize. So we are planning to have the prize presentation on the 7th of July. And if all things go well according to plan, I'll be inviting the winning teams and to come to this brand new digital aviation facilities in Cranfield that we're building up. So what you're looking at on the right-hand side is actually a building complex representing the airport passenger terminal. So we have a big 7-meter screen there we can do for the final presentation. And on the left-hand side, it represents the hangar for maintenance of the aircraft. And since I look after that piece, I should be able to allow people to go in and have a look-see. So that would be really lovely and exciting. And I look forward to be able to welcome folks to come and enjoy our place and see the piece, and also explain how in all the things in this complex, the whole digital computation are fully embedded. And that's where it can help them to see a future in their career interest or subject interest. So that's the overall structure of it. The detailed rules and so on are in the website and in the email that I've sent to the school office. We recognize that because in the way that we can have access to you, we can only find the school office email address. So for those of you who have an interest to participate, please let Jackie know. So she is getting some help with a STEM ambassador so that we can maintain a communication list direct to the teacher. So things are not going to be missed in between the school office and yourself. And so that's all that in terms of the prepared part of explanation that we have, and we're happy to give around time for question and answer. And we know from Carl's email earlier around, can the competition be opened up to Northamptonshire? It's the reason why we have the geographic boundary as set out is very much that that's the geographic boundary of BCS Bedford branch as our area. We do have a BCS Northampton branch, I haven't had a chance to touch base with them, but they don't have a competition. So arguably, there's no reason why schools from Northampton cannot participate. But if we have more schools, then what I and the core team will need is actually more hands to help with the judging. So that is something that we're happy to receive the entries, but we're also equally happy to receive volunteer help. And thank you for putting yourself forward on the chat line. So we will certainly be making contact with you. And I think from last year's experience, we don't know how this open and closed lockdown had been going and will go, despite all the positive intention that we see. But one experience we had from last year is that once the ball gets rolling, even if the students have to work back from home in their own group, they can still build up really good entry with some remote support from the teachers. So it's something that is worth considering in kicking off and a little bit of a contingency plan so that the whole build-up of the entry is both face-to-face as well as online. I think that would be something worth to kind of think about in the planning. But I'll stop talking now. Please, any questions, please unmute, and between us, we'll try to fix the answer.
Hello, it's Anne McQuaid here from Queensberry Academy. We're in Dunstable. I just had a question about how many hours work do we think the students averagely need to put into to create a decent piece of work?
That's a difficult one to answer. I know that some students have spent weeks and weeks and weeks, but when I say that, I mean every coding club for weeks on it. In lockdown, I know that a lot of students had more time, so they did put a lot of hours in. But I guess it depends on their skill level, because a lot of students are learning things for the first time, and so they're coming across problems that they're then trying to solve. And it's a little bit of, it's testing, trial and error. Things aren't working, they have to fix it. So I guess it depends on where their starting point is and where they're going to. So it's really difficult to put an actual time on it. Some are just naturally, already gifted in this, and maybe they could put stuff together in 10 hours or something, but some might need a little bit longer. But there's nothing to stop them working on it at home.
Okay, thank you.
Van and Jackie, I wondered what the themes were this year for the different years.
We keep it very much as the same as before. So do I have the right document on screen that I can scroll through? So if I bring up the theme for this year, so I'm just running through the PDF file that we sent out. So the 6th competition group, year 5, we expect them to do something around online safety. So it's encouraging people and get a safe online message out. So because it is year 5, no, so am I sharing? Yeah.
Yes.
Now sharing. So because it's year 5, what we observe is that quite often these will be submissions using Scratch and different flavor of the animation and graphics and the dialogue. So that really show how some of the thinking of the conversation and message goes. So I always love the year 5s because they started new and there always is something fresh that I don't expect. Year 6 is around something to deal with cyberbullying. So it can be a game, it can be a dialogue, it can be a role play scene, kind of storytelling. So that is, again, quite a useful thing. And quite often is this when they put these together, that we understand how they think about these topics as well. So it's always an eye opener. Year 7 moved to kind of handling the fake news and asking people to make sure that they're checking it correctly. So that is another very useful thing. And because the social interaction is quite a key part, and the different media that people pick up things. So of the entries I've seen over the years, I get to know a lot more about how kids talk to each other, much more than I'm trying to kind of know myself. And in a very interesting way, I get to know more about how my daughter communicates with her friends. Year 8 is a more serious topic about identity threats, about protecting, quite often what we say is protecting password, making sure that people don't get duped into giving things away. Year 9 then move on a general PC to more the mobile phone, and that is another of the important devices now. So because the phone can do so many different things, is getting that message across is an important thing. Year 10 is a brave subject when we introduce it, because the dark web is not somewhere that we want people to go to, but we're actually encouraged by both our police colleague as well as some of the year 11, year 12 students who have finished off with the competition, but based on their feedback that we think this is a topic perhaps a bit too scary for the young people, but it's actually not. By doing the right research, it actually helped them to be wise. So that gives us the range of the topic. And yeah, we have seen some really good entries based on it. And of course, depends on the effort, the maturity. Doesn't mean that winning is the ultimate thing. I think just doing it is going to help in opening up the students' understanding of the topic, and help us to understand how our students are dealing with these situations as well.
I think one of the things we thought about doing for this year is to change the themes, but then we did some research with our young people who have entered the competition before, or who are at that age where they would still be entering the competition, and they actually felt that with everything that was going on with the pandemic, it's really important to have these themes so that students and young people can think about some of the threats that are out there whilst they're online. So we decided just to keep the themes the way they were.
Yes, initially I was suggesting we change the themes to more reflect well-being, but that was voted down by the young people.
Sorry, it's Anne McQuaid again here. Can I just ask, oh gosh, what was my question? Yes, is there somewhere where I can show students examples of work that's been submitted so they can get some inspiration or have some rough idea of what it might look like so they know what they're trying to achieve?
And what year group are you looking at?
I'm looking at 7 to 10s. Year 7 to 10.
We could probably get some together. We would just have to make sure we've had permission from the students.
Yeah, even if it was just videos of shots of work, it might be, you know, get the inspiration going as to what.
I think we could probably put something together. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have my email address?
Have you put it in the chat?
I'll put it in the chat. Okay.
Or just send, and just send me an email. Just send one to me. I think I'm on the flyer.
Yes, your email address is on the flyer.
I'm just looking at it. Yes, got you. Okay. Thank you.
No, that's fine.
Hi, can I just ask a kind of practical question? For the best case scenario that we all get to meet up, would you be able to come up with some sort of risk assessment type thing for school trip planning purposes? Because obviously we're all about the risk assessment these days, and obviously there's even more complexity now, but something, say for instance, about what the site rules are with COVID, etc., but also is there first aid available and that sort of thing, just a little something so that it could sort of underpin the risk assessment that we would have to do for that sort of trip, which I'm sure is going to happen, I feel confident.
Well, absolutely. Every year when we were able to stage this, I will do the Cranfield side of the risk assessment to share, which is signed off by the necessary Cranfield health and safety colleagues, and then it will be shared out to people who are so that you can build your school risk assessment. Yeah, that is, yes, part and parcel of our daily life.
That's great, thank you. One other question. With the older year group, like year 10, would the expectation be that they do it in Python, or would still things like Scratch be the sort of thing they do? I mean, mine do Python, but whether they could make a very complex game, I'm not sure if they'd be able to do that. It's a lot easier to kind of make a start with the imagery that's available in Scratch and Kodu and things like that. Whereas doing something in Python, it can be more form-based, as it were.
Do you want me to answer that, Fan?
Yes, please.
It's entirely up to the students. I think by the time they get to year 10, it's the way they're coding it as well as the imagery that is key. So you can actually do some really complex programming in Scratch, even though it's Scratch. And I know that I use Scratch often with year 12 and 13 when we look at things like recursion. So it is the depth of programming which is also going to be key, because obviously they're going to be compared with students that are using like RPG Maker or Unity or Python or whatever language they've chosen to code in. So absolutely, Scratch is still fine because you can get that depth with Scratch, as long as they bear in mind that they will be judged against other people who are using lots of different languages. But that doesn't mean to say theirs isn't going to be the winning game.
Yeah, I think I recount one year where a particular group of people, they use a game development package that they coded. It was lovely. That was like the Japanese sword fighting story, Jackie. That was really good. The interaction was good, but it took us ages to be able to work through all the steps of the game because we weren't able to win for some time. And what makes it more difficult when we do the judging is that because it's all encapsulated, it becomes less easy for us to know how much of the features is already in the language and how much is their creation. So we're happy to receive anything, but it would be good for something that is allowing us to be able to see inside a little bit.
Thank you, that's great.
I think the key thing is if students are going to use code from somewhere else where they've got it from online or whatever, if they reference that code as not being their own, so that we can clearly see what is their own. Well, I say we, I don't judge the competition, but you get the idea. If you can clearly see that it is their own code, then that's absolutely acceptable. And it's still acceptable to use code from elsewhere as long as they've referenced who that code belongs to, so they're not trying to claim it as their own.
But one thing is that what we rather is not to have rules that restrict the students too much. We'll rather give them the opportunity to actually come together, do their research, and then build something that they have a passion on. So if the final article is a bit harder for us to open up, we probably will come and ask you for help to be able to open it up so we can see more of the inside. And we don't want to for students who want to try really complex thing, we don't want to put a stop to that.
Okay, has anybody got any more questions?
Well, yeah, it seems coming to 30:30 already. So if you have any more questions, then feel free to drop us emails. And then, well, actually, not me, drop Jackie email. She is the expert who can answer the real teaching and the coding questions. I'm just here to be able to make sure we draw down BCS headquarters fund for the prizes. But thank you very much for giving your time to us. We hope all of you will engage. And please, if you have friends who are in your school, in other schools, then please help spread the news. I think it's that the working together, the engaging to enrich the students' life experience, especially in this really funny year, would be a great thing that we all can contribute and do. Any final words, Andy?
No, just thank you for having me, and just to reinforce everything, you know, let's inspire the next generation of coders and provide them some of the stepping stones to move to where Ethan is and beyond. Yeah.
So any final tip from Ethan? How do we press gang students to enter the competition?
Press gang feels like a strong word. I think the reason I did it is because I think the reason I did it is because I had a passion. I think I had Miss Mussington. She was the one that got me involved in the first place. But I came into school with a passion, and I'd learned how important computers are. I think at that age, especially now as kids are coming up, I don't think kids understand how much computers have changed everything and how much they'll continue to change everything. It's not something that people of our generation question, the involvement of computers in the world. So I think being taught like how big and how wide computers are used, that's what got me interested in wanting to know more about it and wanting to know how to use them. So, and also the reward of like snacks. That's the cheat code to any child. If you just have a club after school and there's snacks there.
I see. Practical reward is always useful. Thank you very much. So, right, in this case, I'll just wrap up and close, and we look forward to receiving your competition. Please do get in touch if you want to know anything more, help, guidance. I mean, even if you are introducing it to your class and you may think that me or any other people in the core team is valuable to pop into your class to introduce a competition to your school, then don't hesitate to reach out. We are more than happy to do that. So with that, I will say thank you very much for your time again, and good evening, and we hope to see you in some time very soon. Goodbye for now.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming, Ethan.
Thank you.
Bye.